The airport crowd froze when she hit the floor. Her designer heels clattered against the polished tiles. The sleek handbag flew open, scattering its contents across the terminal floor. A crimson envelope with gold lettering slid toward the wall, one that clearly wasn't meant to be seen by anyone. The man who rushed to help her wasn't just any bystander. Logan Carter had spent 12 years reading crisis situations in war zones. His hands moved with practiced precision as he checked her pulse and positioned her head. He had no idea that picking up that envelope would change everything. No idea that helping this stranger would drag him into a world of shadows and secrets. A world that would threaten the one thing he'd sworn to protect at all costs: his son. Logan Carter had barely slept. His son Max had suffered an asthma attack last night, and between monitoring his breathing and whispering promises that everything would be okay, Logan had forgotten about his airport catering gig until the alarm screamed at 5 a.m. By the time he loaded the soup trays into his dented minivan, the clock was already mocking him. The dashboard was littered with unpaid medical bills, reminders of why a former military systems engineer was now working 3 jobs. "Don't worry, buddy," he whispered, glancing at the worn backpack on the passenger seat that held Max's sketchbook and asthma inhaler. "I'll be back before lunch. Mr. Davis promised to check on you every hour. Don't skip your meds." The airport terminal was a symphony of chaos, announcements blaring, carts beeping, travelers rushing. But chaos was familiar territory for Logan. In his 12 years as a systems engineer for military operations, he'd learned to find patterns in disorder, to stay calm when everything around him threatened to collapse. The loading dock behind Terminal C was even worse. Yelling, honking, a pallet of juice bottles crashing to the ground. But none of it mattered compared to what happened at precisely 9:42 a.m. A woman collapsed. It wasn't a stumble. It wasn't a slip. It was as if someone had pulled her plug. One second she was walking, the next she was crumpled on the floor unconscious. Logan's military training kicked in before his mind could process what was happening. He set down the tray he was carrying and moved swiftly through the crowd. While others pulled out phones to record, he was already kneeling beside her, checking her airway pulse and pupils. "Give her space," he commanded, and something in his voice made people step back. The woman's bag had spilled open. Phone, passport, lipstick, in a single red envelope with gold embossing. Logan barely registered these details as he focused on her vital signs. Her pulse fluttered under his fingers. Rapid but present, her breathing was shallow. Logan gently tilted her chin to ensure her airway remained open. "Ma'am, can you hear me? You collapsed. Try to stay still and breathe slowly." Her eyelids fluttered. Confusion, then panic flashed across her face. Her blazer was sharp-lined, her skirt designer, but her face was pale as chalk with mascara smudged slightly beneath her eyes. "Water," she rasped faintly. Logan reached for his bottle without hesitation, the one he always kept filled for Max. She sipped, coughed, then tried to sit up. Logan placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Easy now. Give your body a minute to reset." She blinked, taking in the scene around her, the scattered contents of her bag, the curious onlookers. Something shifted in her expression. Embarrassment replaced by sharp awareness. That's when Logan noticed the envelope more clearly, red with gold lettering that caught the fluorescent lights. "To be opened only in the event of my disappearance or death." What kind of person carried something like that? She followed his gaze and her eyes widened. In one swift motion, she snatched the envelope from the floor. "Don't look at that." Her voice wasn't panicked. It was commanding, cold, the voice of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "I wasn't, just didn't want it to get trampled." She studied him, now really looked at him. Her breathing still uneven from the collapsed hair, slightly damp at the temples, but her gaze cut like steel. "Thank you for helping me. Most people would have walked past, or worse, just recorded it for their social media." Logan shrugged. "Old habits. I was a combat medic before engineering. Military, 12 years, systems engineer, specialized in secure networks and communications." Something flickered across her face. Not exactly guilt. Something older, more complex. Recognition, perhaps. "I'm Logan," he added. "Logan Carter." She paused, then said quietly, "Sloan Harrow." His posture stiffened imperceptibly. He knew that name. Everyone did. Sloan Harrow, CEO of Aerodynamics, a tech empire worth over $14 billion. Known for revolutionary advancements in data security, but also for controversies, firing half her executive team in a live-streamed restructure, facing multiple lawsuits, having whistleblowers who mysteriously vanished from public view. And now she was sitting on an airport floor beside a man in a stained catering uniform clutching an envelope like it contained national secrets, which given her connections it might. She stood slowly smoothing her skirt with one hand while holding the envelope tight with the other. "You should see a doctor," Logan said, professional concern, overriding his awareness of their vastly different worlds. "I have a team for that." She hesitated, then slipped a card into his hand. Thin embossed, no name on the front, just a number handwritten on the back. "If anything happens to me in the next 72 hours, she said in a low voice, "don't go to the police. Call this." Logan stared at her. "Excuse me?" "Please," she said. Her voice had lost its edge of command, revealing something Logan recognized all too well: controlled fear. Then she turned and walked away, blending back into the airport crowd like nothing had happened. But Logan could feel it already, that familiar tremor in the air right before an operation went critical. Because whatever was in that envelope, whatever had made Sloan Harrow collapse, it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Logan Carter didn't believe in coincidences. Not anymore. He'd learned that lesson in Kandahar when a random power failure had preceded an attack on their communications hub by exactly 7 minutes. He'd learned it again when Max's mother packed her bags during their son's first severe asthma attack, whispering, "I can't do this," before disappearing from their lives. Since then, Logan didn't count on fate. He counted on patterns, systems, contingencies, on the measurable and the manageable. Coincidences were for people with backup plans and safety nets. He had neither. So when a billionaire tech CEO collapsed in front of him, handed him an unmarked card, and warned him not to go to the police if she vanished, he didn't think it was chance. He thought it was a problem. And now it was his problem. The card Sloan Harrow had given him was plain white cardstock. No company logo, no embossed name, just a single number handwritten on the back, 201-792-3678. No label, no context. He slipped it into his wallet behind Max's latest drawing, a robot chef with remarkably detailed circuit patterns that made Logan both proud and wistful. His son had inherited his affinity for systems, for seeing how things connected and worked together. In another life, one with better health insurance and no medical debt, he might have been able to nurture that talent properly. Logan finished his shift mechanically, his mind cataloging and analyzing what had happened. Sloane's collapse had seemed genuine, not staged. Her fear when she handed him the card had been real. And that envelope, to be opened only in the event of my disappearance or death, suggested she was prepared for something catastrophic. What troubled him most was her warning about the police. In his experience, people who avoided law enforcement fell into two categories: criminals and victims who didn't trust the system to protect them. Sloan Harrow, with her billions in connections, didn't fit the profile of someone vulnerable to ordinary threats. Unless the threat was extraordinary. Logan's apartment was on the third floor of a faded building in Jersey City, close enough to Manhattan for his catering gigs, far enough to be almost affordable. The elevator hadn't worked in months, so he climbed the stairs, his knees protesting after hours on his feet. He found Mrs. Abernathy, his elderly neighbor, sitting with Max at their small kitchen table. Max's homework was spread out beside a half-eaten sandwich. "Dad, did you bring me anything from the airport?" Logan smiled, the weight of the day momentarily lifting. "Just these," he said, pulling 2 packets of airplane pretzels from his pocket, saved from the catering cleanup. "Awesome!" Max's eyes lit up as if they were treasure. Mrs. Abernathy stood gathering her knitting. "He's been a good boy. Used his inhaler right on schedule." "Thank you for watching him," Logan said, pressing $20 into her hand. Money he couldn't spare, but a debt he refused to leave unpaid. "Any time, dear. You know I enjoy his company." After she left, Logan heated up leftover pasta and listened to Max's detailed account of his day. The science experiment at school, the new game his friend Tyler had brought to class, the robot design he was perfecting. "See, Dad, I added a cooling system here so his circuits don't overheat when he's cooking spicy stuff." Logan examined the drawing with genuine interest. "That's smart thinking, buddy." Heat management is crucial in any complex system. Max beamed at the approval. At 8 years old, he understood more about engineering principles than most adults, soaking up Logan's explanations like a sponge. It was their bond, this shared language of systems and solutions of problems broken down into solvable parts. After dinner, after homework, check, and teeth brushing, after the nightly ritual of checking that the inhaler was within reach and the nightlight was on, Logan sat at the kitchen table with his laptop. He hesitated only briefly before typing Sloan Harrow into the search bar. Millions of results appeared instantly. Recent headlines dominated. Aerodynamics stock soars after Pentagon contract announcement. Sloan Harrow testifies before Senate Committee on Data Security. Tech Titan under fire, former employees allege ethical violations. Logan clicked through articles, methodically building a profile. Harvard Business School, worked briefly for the NSA before founding Aerodynamics, built the company from a small cybersecurity firm into a tech giant that specialized in advanced data protection systems. Major contracts with defense departments, financial institutions, and governments worldwide. But there were shadows too. 3 former employees had filed whistleblower complaints in the past year. 2 had subsequently retracted their statements and disappeared from public view. The third, a senior developer named Marcus Chen, had died in what was ruled a hiking accident 2 weeks after going public with allegations of illegal surveillance technology. Logan rubbed his eyes. It was approaching midnight, and he had an early shift at the diner before his afternoon airport job. But something didn't add up. Sloan Harrow didn't fit the profile of someone who would collapse from stress or overwork. Women didn't become billionaire CEOs without developing extraordinary resilience. And that envelope, that was preparation for disaster, not anxiety. He was about to close his laptop when a small notification appeared. A text message on his burner phone, the one he kept for gig work. The number wasn't saved in his contacts. Thank you again for today. Your background is impressive. If you're interested in consulting work, Aerodynamics is always looking for talent with your expertise. SH. Logan stared at the message. How had she found this number? It wasn't on any of his official documents, and he'd never given it to her. The implications were unsettling. Either she had resources to track down private information quickly, or she'd been looking into him before their chance encounter. Neither option was comforting. He typed a response, deleted, it typed again. Finally, no thanks needed, hope you're feeling better, not looking for new opportunities at the moment. The reply came seconds later. Fair enough, the offer stands. Good men with your skills are rare. Logan set the phone down uneasy. Something felt off about the whole interaction. If Sloan Harrow genuinely wanted to recruit him, there were proper channels. HR departments. Recruiters. Not cryptic text messages at midnight, unless recruitment wasn't her real purpose. He checked on Max one more time before trying to sleep. His son was breathing evenly, one arm flung over his favorite robot toy. Logan adjusted the blanket and allowed himself a moment of pure gratitude. Despite everything, the financial struggles, the health scares, the crushing weight of doing it all alone, Max was thriving, bright, creative kind. If nothing else in Logan's life had gone according to plan, at least he hadn't failed at the one thing that truly mattered. He was about to turn away when he noticed something on Max's palm. Red ink, a partial smudge, a gold stamped edge. Logan gently peeled the paper fragment from his son's hand, careful not to wake him. It was a torn corner of a document, thick paper like the kind used for official certificates or legal documents. Red with gold embossing. Logan's pulse quickened as he recognized it. That wasn't from anything in their home. It was from the envelope. The red envelope Sloan Harrow had been clutching at the airport. Logan's mind raced. How had a piece of it ended up in Max's hand? Had it fallen into his backpack somehow? Had Sloan planted it deliberately? He rushed to the kitchen and emptied his backpack. Utensils, receipts, napkins, his water bottle. There, stuck to the bottom of the bag, was a folded piece of paper sealed inside a sandwich bag. Logan pulled it out carefully. It was a memo half torn. The heading read, Classified Review of Operation Crimson Atlas. Subject, Harrow Sloan. Below was partial text, Compromise ethical protocols. Human subjects testing without national security implications if exposed. Logan's hands went cold. This wasn't corporate espionage or tech industry drama. The classification marking the reference to human subjects. This was government-level danger. And somehow his son had touched it. The fragment had been in his backpack where Max had reached for his afternoon snack. His son was now connected to whatever this was. Logan's military training took over. Assess the threat, secure your position, determine next actions. He moved to the window and carefully peered through the blinds at the street below. That's when he saw him. A man standing across the street under a streetlight. Not moving, not smoking, not looking at his phone, just watching, wearing a gray coat, hands in pockets. Logan's heart kicked against his ribs. He watched for 5 full minutes. The man never shifted position, never checked the time, never did any of the small, unconscious movements people make when waiting normally. This wasn't normal. 10 minutes later, Logan had the blinds shut, Max's school backpack packed with essentials, in an old emergency go bag in his hand. They weren't running, not exactly. Just being cautious. Sleeping somewhere else for the night. Maybe at his old army buddy Frank's place in Hoboken. Frank worked nights as a security guard, but he had a spare key and had told Logan repeatedly that his couch was always available if needed. Logan lifted Max, gently wrapped in his blanket. The boy stirred but didn't wake, fully accustomed to being carried to bed when he fell asleep on the couch. "Just going for a little ride, buddy," Logan whispered. "Everything's fine." But as he carried his son to the hall, avoiding the squeaky spots on the hallway floor, Logan couldn't stop seeing the envelope. The gold stamp, the red ink, the words Operation Crimson Atlas. He wasn't a hero, he wasn't a spy. He was a dad working catering jobs to pay for asthma medication. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty: whatever Sloan Harrow had hidden in that envelope was dangerous enough to get people killed. And now, somehow, he and Max were connected to it. Frank's apartment was dark when they arrived, as expected. Logan used his key and carried Max to the couch, tucking the blanket around him before doing a quick security check of the small one-bedroom apartment. Windows locked, blinds, closed door chained. Only then did he allow himself to breathe. He sat at Frank's kitchen table, the torn memo under the harsh overhead light. The full text was impossible to reconstruct. Too much was missing. But the words that were visible painted a disturbing picture. Crimson Atlas, neural interface technology, unauthorized testing, civilian facilities, subject mortality rate of 17%. Harrow refused to authorize, threatened to expose, containment protocols initiated. Logan ran a hand through his hair. Neural interface technology, human subjects, mortality rate. These weren't terms from ordinary business operations. This was experimental technology being tested on people with deadly results. And from what he could piece together, Sloan Harrow had refused to authorize something and threatened to expose it, which would explain why she was carrying an emergency envelope and why she might expect to disappear. Logan's phone buzzed with another chain from the unknown number. "Your location has been compromised. Move immediately. Check the blue sedan, 2 blocks east. Don't use your vehicle." His blood ran cold. How did she know they'd left the apartment? How did she know about the blue sedan? Logan moved to the window and carefully peered out. 2 blocks east, barely visible under a street light, was a blue sedan. As he watched, its headlights flashed once, twice, 3 times. A deliberate signal. This was beyond coincidence, beyond chance. Sloan Harrow wasn't just aware of his movements. She was tracking them, which meant either she had resources monitoring him, or worse, whoever was after her was watching him too. Logan made a decision. He typed, "Who are you, really? What is Crimson Atlas? Why involve me and my son?" The reply came instantly. "Not secure. Meet tomorrow. Central Park, Bethesda Fountain, 10 a.m. Bring what you found. Trust no one else." Logan stared at the message. Every instinct told him to grab Max and run, to disappear, to get as far away from boss Sloan Harrow and Operation Crimson Atlas as possible. But the rational part of his brain, the systems engineer who understood networks and connections, knew it was already too late. If they were being watched at the apartment and tracked to Frank's, they were already in the system. Running would only make them look guilty of something. And with Max's medical needs, disappearing isn't a viable option. His only play was to understand what he'd stumbled into, to gather information, to find the vulnerabilities in whatever system was now targeting them. Logan looked over at Max sleeping peacefully on the couch, unaware that his world had just become infinitely more complicated. "I'll fix this," he whispered. "I promise." He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he used Frank's laptop to research aerodynamics more thoroughly, focusing on their government contracts and any mentions of neural interface technology. What he found were carefully worded press releases about breakthrough human-computer interaction systems and revolutionizing data processing through direct neural pathways. Buried in technical journals were more specific references. Aerodynamics had patented several technologies related to brain-computer interfaces supposedly for medical applications, like helping paralyzed patients control prosthetics. But there were no published clinical trials, no peer-reviewed studies showing their effectiveness or safety, just vague announcements of promising results and ongoing research. By morning, Logan had formed a theory. Aerodynamics had developed neural interface technology for legitimate medical purposes. But someone, not Sloan according to the memo fragment, had repurposed it for something else. Something that involved unauthorized testing with a mortality rate of 17%. And Sloan had threatened to expose it. At 7 a.m., Logan woke Max gently. "Hey, buddy, we're at Uncle Frank's place. I had a late job and didn't want to wake you up to go home." Mac rubbed his eyes, accepting the explanation without question. Trust was a luxury of childhood that Logan had worked hard to preserve for his son. "Can we have pancakes? Uncle Frank always has the good syrup." Logan smiled, the normalcy of the request a temporary balm. "You bet. And then we're going to have a little adventure in the city. How does Central Park sound?" Max's eyes lit up. "Can we see the boats and the big fountain with the angel?" "That's exactly where we're going." As Logan made pancakes, he mentally prepared for all contingencies. If Sloan didn't show, they'd leave immediately. If anything seemed off, they'd abort. He'd carry Max's inhaler, extra doses of all medications cash, and his old military ID, still useful for getting through certain doors if necessary. What he couldn't prepare for was what Sloan might tell him, or what it would mean for their safety going forward. They took the subway to Central Park, Logan vigilant at every step. He noted two men who seemed too interested in their newspaper on the train. A woman whose casual glances their way came at 2 regular intervals. A teenager whose backpack seemed too heavy for its apparent contents. Hypervigilance, his therapist had called it after he'd returned from his last deployment. A normal response to abnormal situations. Except this time, Logan didn't think it was an overreaction. Not with what he'd seen in that memo. Not with the watcher outside his apartment. Bethesda Terrace was busy with tourists taking photos of the famous fountain with its angel statue. Logan positioned himself and Max on a bench with clear sight lines in all directions, the sun at their backs to prevent being blinded. "Can I feed the ducks, Dad?" Max asked, pointing to the small pond where several ducks were swimming. "Let's wait a bit, buddy. I'm meeting someone important for work. Then we can feed the ducks all afternoon if you want." Max nodded, pulling out his sketchbook to draw the fountain. Logan watched the crowd looking for Sloane's distinctive figure. She appeared precisely at 10 a.m., but not as he expected. Gone was the power suit and designer heels. Instead, she wore jeans, sneakers, and a Yankees cap pulled low over sunglasses. Her hair was tucked up, her posture deliberately casual. If Logan hadn't been specifically looking for her, he might have missed her completely. She sat beside them without acknowledgement, pretending to read something on her phone. After a moment, she spoke quietly, not looking up. "The boy should be somewhere else for this conversation." Logan tensed. "He stays with me. There's an ice cream vendor 50 yards to your left. My security detail is watching him. The man in the blue windbreaker. Send Max for ice cream. He'll be safe for 5 minutes, and we need to talk privately." Logan hesitated, every protective instinct screaming against letting Max out of his sight. But he also needed answers, and certain conversations weren't for 8-year-old ears. "Max, buddy, would you like some ice cream? You can get whatever you want." Max looked up from his drawing. "Really, even a double scoop?" "Even a double. Here." Logan handed him a $10 bill. "See that card over there? Go ahead. I'll watch from right here." Max raced off and Logan turned to Sloan. "You have exactly 3 minutes to explain why my son found classified government documents in his snack bag." Sloan removed her sunglasses, her eyes meeting his directly. 3 years ago, Aerodynamics developed a neural interface system called Nexus. It was designed to help coma patients communicate, to let paralyzed people control devices with their thoughts. It was meant to heal. Let me guess, someone had other ideas. The Defense Intelligence Agency saw its potential as an interrogation tool. Imagine extracting information directly from a subject's brain, bypassing conscious resistance. They created a black project, Crimson Atlas, to adapt our technology. I discovered unauthorized testing was happening in civilian hospitals, on patients who couldn't consent, on people whose deaths wouldn't raise questions. Logan's jaw tightened. The memo mentioned a 17% mortality rate. It's higher now. When I threatened to go public, they didn't fire me. That would have drawn attention. Instead, they turned aerodynamics into my prison. Every email monitored, every call recorded. They installed their people throughout my company. I've spent the last year gathering evidence, building a case impossible to ignore or bury. And the envelope? Insurance. The final piece. Names, dates, facility locations, authorization codes. Everything needed to expose Crimson Atlas completely. She paused. I didn't plan it on you. When I collapsed, which was genuine, they've been dosing my medication, I must have dropped it. A fragment must have stuck to your bag. Logan processed this, his mind running through implications and connections. Why tell me to avoid the police? Because I don't know which ones are compromised. Crimson Atlas has high-level clearance and government protection. They've infiltrated local departments near testing facilities. They have a cleaner, a man they call the Pale. No official record, no fingerprints in any database. He doesn't kill targets. He makes them vanish entirely. The man outside my apartment last night. Sloane's expression tightened. You saw him? Gray coat, no facial hair, completely still. Then you're already in their system. They know you have the fragment. She glanced toward Max at the ice cream cart. Both of you are. Logan felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. What do they want? The envelope. They think I gave it to you deliberately. They think you're my chosen courier. I'm not getting involved in this. My son comes first. It's too late for that, Logan. You became involved the moment you helped me, the moment that fragment ended up in your possession. Sloane leaned closer. But I can help you. I have resources, contingency plans, safe houses they don't know about. And what do you want in return? The fragment, I want your skills, your military background, your systems expertise. I've spent a year trying to outmaneuver them alone. I need someone who understands security protocols, someone who can think like they do. Logan watched Max carefully selecting his ice cream flavors, completely unaware of the danger surrounding them. And if I say no, then I'll still help you disappear. I won't leave a child in danger. But without your help, I may not be able to stop Crimson Atlas. More people will die in those experiments, and eventually they'll find you anyway. The choice crystallized in Logan's mind: run and hide, always looking over his shoulder, or stand and fight using his skills to end the threat permanently. Neither option was good, but only one offered a chance at a normal life for Max afterward. If I help you, I need guarantees. Max's safety comes first, always. And when this is over, we walk away clean. New identities if necessary, but a real life, not looking over our shoulders forever. Sloane nodded. I've already arranged it. Everything's in place. She handed him a small flip phone. Burner, untraceable. I'll contact you on it tonight with coordinates for a secure location. Don't go home. They're watching it. Max was returning proudly, carrying a double-scoop cone that was already beginning to drip. Dad, I got chocolate and strawberry. Logan forced a smile. Looks amazing, buddy. Sloane stood replacing her sunglasses. Cute kid, she said loudly, as if she were just a random park-goer making conversation. Then quieter. Wait 30 minutes after I leave, then take the one train to South Ferry. My people will find you. She walked away, just another tourist enjoying the park. Logan watched her go, the weight of her revelations settling over him like armor. Heavy, confining, but potentially life-saving. Who was that lady, Dad? Max asked happily, licking his ice cream. Just someone from work. Logan pulled his son close with one arm. Hey, how would you like to go on a little vacation? Maybe see some new places for a while. Like a real trip, not just to Uncle Frank's. A real trip, an adventure. Max's eyes widened with excitement. Can I bring my robot designs? Maybe we'll find someone who can help build them? Absolutely, Logan said, his throat tight with the effort of maintaining normalcy. You never know who we might meet. As they sat watching the fountain, Logan's mind was already mapping out contingencies, escape routes, security protocols. The systems engineer in him calculating risks and solutions. The father in him vowing to protect his son at all costs. The soldier in him preparing for battle. Because whatever Crimson Atlas was, whoever the Pale was, they had made one critical mistake. They had threatened his child. And that was something Logan Carter would never allow to stand. The South Ferry Station was crowded with tourists heading to the Statue of Liberty. Logan held Max's hand tightly as they navigated the throng, his eyes constantly scanning for threats. The weight of the burner phone in his pocket felt like a live grenade with the pin halfway pulled. Dad, are we going to see the big green lady? Not today, buddy. Nah, we've got somewhere special to go. Logan spotted him immediately. A man in a chauffeur's uniform holding a tablet with Carter, displayed on the screen. Not subtle but effective in the crowd. Logan approached cautiously, positioning Max slightly behind him. Mr. Carter, Ms. Harrow sent me. The car is this way. The vehicle wasn't what Logan expected. Not a sleek town car or SUV, but an ordinary yellow cab with a dented fender. Smart. Anonymous in New York traffic, able to use taxi lanes unlikely to draw attention. The driver didn't speak during the ride, and Logan didn't ask questions. Instead, he pointed out landmarks to Max, maintaining the pretense of a father-son adventure while memorizing their route. Across the Brooklyn Bridge, through downtown Brooklyn, into a residential neighborhood of brownstones and small apartment buildings. They stopped in front of a 4-story building with no distinguishing features. The driver handed Logan a key card. Apartment 3B. Ms. Harrow will contact you. Everything you need is inside. The apartment was surprisingly modest. Clean and furnished, but nothing luxurious. The refrigerator was stocked with food, including chocolate milk and apple juice, Max's favorites. In the bedroom, Logan found clothes in both his and Max's sizes. On the kitchen counter sat a laptop still in its sealed box. This place is cool. Dad, way bigger than our apartment. Are we rich now? Logan smiled despite the tension. Nobody, just borrowing it for a while. Like when we stayed at Uncle Frank's. Something like that. Logan checked the windows, double-paned with electronic security sensors. The front door had 3 locks plus a security system. Whoever had prepared this place had prioritized safety. Why don't you check out your room? I bet there might be something cool in there. While Max explored, Logan examined the laptop. Brand new, high-end specs. He booted it up, unsurprised to find it already configured with encrypted email and secure browsing tools. A sticky note on the keyboard read, "Safe to use, air-gapped from regular networks." The burner phone buzzed with a text, "Secure, video chat in 30 minutes. Get the boy settled first." Logan found Max in the second bedroom, already arranging his robot drawings on a desk that held a brand new set of colored pencils and a sketch pad. "Look what I found, Dad. Now I can design the auxiliary power system for my robot chef." "That's great, Max. Listen, I need to have a grown-up call for work in a little bit. There's a TV in here with some movies loaded up. Why don't you watch something while I talk?" "Is this about your new job? The lady at the park?" Logan hesitated. Max was perceptive, another trait he'd inherited from his father. Lying would only raise more questions. "Yes, it's a potential job, something important, but complicated. I need to figure out if it's right for us." Max nodded seriously. "Is it dangerous? You have your serious face on." Logan knelt to his son's level. "I'm just being careful, buddy. That's what dads do, but I promise you whatever happens, I'll keep you safe. That's my most important job. More important than your airport job. Way more important. Now how about that movie while I take my call?" When Max was settled, Logan returned to the kitchen and opened the video chat program on the laptop. Precisely at the scheduled time, Sloane Harrow's face appeared on the screen. She looked different, more tired, her hair pulled back severely, her usual polished appearance replaced by utilitarian simplicity. "Are you secure?" she asked without preamble. "As far as I can tell, the place is well set up. I've had it ready for months, one of several contingency locations." You've been preparing for this for a long time. Since I discovered what they were doing with my technology, she leaned closer to the camera. Logan, I need to know if you're with me, fully committed. What I'm about to share can't be unheard. Logan considered his response carefully. I'm committed to protecting my son and to stopping whatever's threatening him. Beyond that, I need more information before I make promises. Sloan nodded, seemingly satisfied with his candor. Fair enough. Let me show you what Crimson Atlas really is. She shared her screen, displaying technical schematics for what looked like an advanced neural interface, a web of microscopic sensors designed to integrate with human brain tissue. This is Nexus in its original form, designed to help locked-in patients communicate. The sensors create a two-way channel between the brain and external computing systems. Thoughts converted to data, data converted to neural signals. The schematics changed, showing a more aggressive, invasive design. This is what the DIA did to it. They weaponized it. Instead of gentle communication, they created a system that can override neural pathways, that can extract information forcibly, that can, in the most extreme application, control motor functions against the subject's will. Logan's military background helped him grasp the implications immediately. Mind control. Crude, but yes, and they've been testing it on civilians, patients in long-term care facilities, homeless people who won't be missed, using shell companies to access vulnerable populations. The 17% mortality rate, brain hemorrhaging, neural pathway collapse. The human brain fights external control, sometimes violently. Logan felt sick. And they're doing this with government authorization. A black authorization buried under classified protocols. Only a handful of people know the full scope. The rest see compartmentalized pieces. Medical research, advanced interrogation techniques, next-generation battlefield communications. None see the whole picture, except you. I built the original technology. I knew what it could become in the wrong hands. When I realized what was happening, I began gathering evidence. Names, locations, authorization codes, test results. Everything needed to expose it completely. And that's what was in the envelope. The final piece, confirmation from inside DIA that they knew the mortality risks and proceeded anyway. Authorization to expand testing despite the deaths. She paused. Logan, these people don't care who they hurt. They see only the potential weapon, the ability to extract information from enemies, to disable hostile forces remotely, to create the perfect intelligence asset who can't resist interrogation. Logan processed this, the systems engineer in him, mapping connections, vulnerabilities, attack vectors. What exactly do you need from me? With your resources, you could go public, flee the country, disappear. I tried going public. The evidence was discredited, witnesses silenced. As for fleeing, they're watching all transit points, and disappearing isn't enough. They'd continue the program under a different name. So what's your plan? I've built a secure server containing all the evidence. It's isolated, unreachable from the outside. But I need to add the final pieces, the documents from the envelope, authentication codes, final confirmations. Then trigger a simultaneous release to multiple outlets, journalists, oversight committees, international courts. Too many targets to silence all at once. And my role in this, I need your systems expertise, your military background. You understand both the technical and operational security aspects. You know how they think, how they'll try to stop us. She leaned forward. And I need someone I can trust, someone they don't control. You barely know me. I know enough. I've read your service record, seen your security clearance evaluations. You were described as pathologically ethical by your commanding officer. Refused to compromise civilian safety protocols even under direct orders. Logan's eyes narrowed. You've been investigating me since before the airport. Yes. She didn't bother denying it. I've been searching for the right ally for months. When I found your profile, I arranged our meeting. The collapse was staged. No, that was real. They've been poisoning me slowly. Micro amounts of toxins in my food, my medications. Not enough to kill, just enough to create health concerns that would justify removing me eventually. I've been counteracting it with chelation therapy, but it's not perfect. Logan felt a surge of anger. You deliberately pulled me into this, endangered my son. I needed help, and your skills are unique. Military systems, training, ethical backbone, no family connections they could leverage against you except Max. A single point of vulnerability is easier to protect. She met his gaze through the screen. I'm not proud of it, but people are dying, Logan, and more will die if Crimson Atlas continues. The moral calculus was complex, but the engineering problem was clear. A corrupt system needed to be exposed and shut down. And whether he liked it or not, he was already part of it. What's our timeline? 3 days. I've scheduled a board meeting where I'll be removed for health reasons. Once that happens, I lose access to the final authentication systems. We need to complete the evidence package and trigger the release before then. And Max, his safety is non-negotiable. Already arranged, a secure location outside their surveillance network. Full medical facilities for his condition. He'll be safer there than anywhere else. Logan considered his options. Run and hide hoping they wouldn't be found. Or fight back using his skills to end the threat permanently. For Max, the choice was clear. I'm in, but Max goes to the secure location first. Today, before I do anything else. Agreed, update. I'll make the arrangements immediately. The screen went blank, leaving Logan alone with his thoughts. He'd just allied himself with a billionaire tech CEO against elements of his own government. A year ago, he'd been worrying about catering gigs and overtime pay. Now he was planning to expose a classified black project that had already killed people to protect its secrets. Max appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. Dad, the movie ended. Logan pushed aside his concerns and smiled. Did you like it? It was okay. Are you done with your work call? For now, buddy. Hey, how would you feel about going to a special place for a few days? Like a cool science camp with doctors who can help with your asthma. Max's eyes widened, like the X-Men school with other kids who have special things wrong with them. Logan chuckled despite himself. Something like that. There would be other kids and top doctors, and I'd come join you as soon as I finish this job. Would they have robots or computers I could program? I bet they would. Max considered this seriously. Okay, but you have to promise to come quick and bring my robot drawings so we can work on them together. Promise. Logan pulled his son into a tight hug. Cross my heart. The secure facility was 3 hours north of the city, nestled in the Catskill Mountains. Another unmarked car picked them up, this time a family SUV, with a car seat already installed for Max. Logan sat in the back with his son, watching the city fall away as they headed into more rural areas. Look, Dad, cows. Real ones, not just pictures. Logan smiled at Max's excitement. The boy had rarely left the city, their tight budget, making even short trips a luxury they couldn't afford. Despite the circumstances, there was something good in seeing his son experience something new. The facility itself looked like an upscale summer camp or resort. Wooden buildings surrounded by forest, a lake visible in the distance. But Logan noted the security features immediately. Cameras disguised as birdhouses, motion sensors integrated into the landscaping. Guards who looked like groundskeepers but moved with military precision. A woman in a white coat met them at the main building. Welcome, Max. I'm Dr. Eliza. We're so glad you're joining us for a while. Max looked up at Logan questioningly. It's okay, buddy. Dr. Eliza is going to show you around while I talk to some people about my new job. Will there be other kids? Absolutely, Dr. Eliza said. We have 8 children here right now. Some with asthma like you, some with other conditions. We even have a robotics lab where the older kids are building a remote-controlled rover. Max's eyes lit up. Can I see it? Of course, let's go check it out while your dad gets you registered. As Max went with Dr. Eliza, another staff member approached Logan. Mr. Carter, I'm Dr. Patel. I'll be overseeing Max's care personally. Ms. Harrow briefed me on his condition. He needs his inhaler with him at all times, and his medications twice daily. We have a fully stocked pharmacy and respiratory specialists on staff. His medical records have been transferred securely. I assure you he'll receive the best care possible. Logan handed over Max's backpack. His drawings are in here. They're important to him. We'll make sure he has everything he needs. Dr. Patel hesitated. Mr. Carter, I don't know exactly what you and Ms. Harrow are involved in, but I want you to know that this facility is completely secure. Military-grade protocols, off-grid capabilities, staff vetted to the highest clearance levels. Your son will be safe here. Logan nodded, grateful for the reassurance, but still feeling the wrench of separation. How do I contact him? There's a secure video system. We'll set up daily calls at scheduled times. And this, Dr. Patel handed him a small device that looked like a pager, is a direct alert system. If Max has any issues, medical or otherwise, it will notify you immediately. After completing paperwork and touring the medical facilities, Logan found Max in the robotics lab, already deep in conversation with an older boy about servo motors and power supplies. He looked happier and more animated than Logan had seen him in months. Dad, Jack says they have real programming computers here and 3D printers. We could actually build my robot chef. Logan knelt to his son's level. That sounds amazing, buddy. Listen, I need to go back to the city now for my job. But I'll video call you tonight, okay? And I'll be back as soon as I can. Max's excitement dimmed slightly. You promise? Absolute promise. And look, Logan pulled out his phone, showing an app. Dr. Patel gave me this special program. It shows me how you're doing all the time. So even when I can't see you, I'll know you're okay. Max nodded, accepting this with the resilience that never failed to amaze Logan. Okay, I'll design the best robot ever while you're gone. So hurry back. The goodbye hug was tight, neither wanting to let go first. Finally, Logan stood and walked away, not trusting himself to look back. The weight in his chest was almost physical. The first time he'd been separated from Max since becoming a single parent. In the car, returning to the city, Logan stared at the monitoring app, watching Max's vital signs. Heart rate, oxygen levels, even his location within the facility represented by a small blinking dot. All normal. All safe. The burner phone buzzed with a text from Sloan. Boy, secure, ready to proceed. Logan replied simply, yes, what's next? Back at the safe house apartment, Logan found new equipment waiting, advanced laptops, encryption devices, and a secure satellite uplink that bypassed normal internet infrastructure. Sloan had spared no expense in creating a technological fortress. She arrived in person an hour later, escorted by 2 security personnel who remained outside after scanning the apartment for surveillance devices. Without her usual corporate armor of designer clothes and perfect makeup, Sloan looked different, still commanding, but more human. She wore jeans, a simple black sweater, and had her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. How's Max settling in? She asked, setting down a case of equipment. Better than I expected. They have a robotics lab. He's in heaven. I chose that facility carefully. Children of high-value intelligence assets stay there. Diplomats, operatives, people who need absolute security for their families. Logan began unpacking the equipment. So what exactly are we doing? Building the final evidence package. I have the server that will distribute everything, but we need to integrate the new material, authenticate it, and create the triggering mechanism. What's the distribution target? 27 simultaneous endpoints. News organizations, oversight committees, international courts, trusted journalists. Too many to silence all at once. For the next several hours, they worked together, Logan's systems expertise complementing Sloan's intimate knowledge of aerodynamics technology. Despite the circumstances, Logan found himself impressed by her technical abilities. She wasn't just a CEO figurehead. She understood the systems at a fundamental level. You really built the original Nexus technology yourself, he observed as they worked through complex security protocols. I was a coder before I was a CEO, built my first neural interface prototype in my garage. The company came later. Why sell to the government? You must have known the risks. I didn't sell it. I refused military applications from the beginning. Required ethical oversight for all deployments. Her jaw tightened. They went around me. Created a shell subsidiary that I didn't directly control. By the time I discovered what was happening, Crimson Atlas was already operational. As night fell, they ordered food delivery, collected by one of Sloan's security team from 3 blocks away to avoid revealing their location. They ate while continuing to work the stakes too high for normal breaks. Tell me about the pail, Logan said, as they configured the authentication systems. The man who was watching my apartment. Sloan's expression darkened. No one knows his real name. Former Black Ops rumored to have undergone experimental procedures himself. He's their cleaner. When someone knows too much about programs like Crimson Atlas, the pale makes them disappear. Not kills them. That would create records, death certificates, investigations. No, he makes people vanish completely. New identities, usually with mental health histories, conveniently created to discredit anything they might say. Sometimes overseas in facilities where they're held indefinitely. And he's after you. Has been for months. I've stayed ahead of him by using my resources, keeping moving. But he's patient, methodical. And now he's after me and Max too. Yes, which is why we need to finish this quickly. By midnight, they had the system nearly complete. A technological dead man switch designed to release everything, if not reset every 24 hours. The final piece was integrating the fragments from the red envelope with the larger evidence package. We're missing parts, Logan said, examining the torn document. Without the complete authorization codes, they could claim the evidence is fabricated. I know where to get them, but it's high risk. The Aerodynamics main server room. The backup of the original files is stored there in an air-gapped system. You're the CEO. Can't you just access it? Not anymore. They've restricted my access under the guise of health concerns affecting my judgment. My executive team has been compromised. But I still have my physical access credentials. We just need to get past the human security. Logan considered the challenge. Tomorrow night, security is minimal on Sundays. Mostly automated systems that I helped design. She looked at him intently. This is the dangerous part, Logan. If you want to back out, now's the time. And let the pale find me and Max eventually anyway. No. We finish this. He checked the monitoring app again. Max's vital signs showed he was sleeping peacefully. But first I need to make a video call to my son. Sloan nodded, giving him privacy. Logan connected through the secure system to Max's location. A staff member answered, then brought a sleepy Max to the screen. Dad, I made friends with Jack and Ellie, and we're designing a robot arm tomorrow. That's great. Buddy, are you feeling okay using your inhaler? Dr. Eliza has a cool one that measures my breathing and sends it to her computer, and the food is way better than school lunch. Logan smiled, a relief washing through him at seeing Max's enthusiasm. That sounds amazing. I miss you, though. I miss you, too. But Jack says his dad goes away for work stuff all the time. Sometimes for weeks. You're coming back way sooner than that, right? Absolutely. Just a couple more days. Okay. Love you, Dad. Love you too, Max. More than anything. After the call ended, Logan found Sloan working at one of the laptops. She glanced up briefly. He seems like a remarkable kid. He is. Smart, resilient. Better than he has any right to be given everything. His medical condition, the asthma, is it severe? Moderate to severe, requires daily management, emergency intervention sometimes. It's why I work so many jobs. Health insurance only covers so much. Sloan was quiet for a moment. When this is over, that won't be a concern anymore. Logan looked at her sharply. I'm not doing this for money. I know, but taking care of Max shouldn't require working yourself to exhaustion either. She returned to her work. Get some sleep. Tomorrow will be high risk. You'll need to be sharp. Logan took the couch, leaving Sloan the bedroom, though he doubted either of them would sleep much. Before closing his eyes, he checked the monitoring app one more time. Max's vitals strong and steady. Whatever happened tomorrow, his son was safe. That knowledge alone allowed him to finally rest. The next morning brought a flurry of preparation. Sloan's security team delivered floor plans of the Aerodynamics building, security rotation schedules, and electronic bypass tools. Logan reviewed everything methodically, applying his military training to identify vulnerabilities and contingencies. The server room has biometric access, he noted, examining the security protocols. Fingerprint retinal scan and voice authentication. I still have access. They couldn't remove my biometrics without raising red flags with the board. And once we're in, 4 minutes to download the authentication codes to this. She held up a specialized drive. Then we exit through the loading dock. Sunday nights it's minimally staffed. What about the pale? If he's tracking you, he'll be watching Aerodynamics. That's why I haven't been within 3 blocks of any company property for weeks. He won't expect me to go there directly. It's too obvious. Logan wasn't convinced. People like him don't think in terms of obvious. They think in terms of necessary targets. If he knows what you're after, he'll have all potential sources covered. Then we'll need a distraction. They spent the day finalizing their plan, checking and rechecking equipment running through scenarios. Sloan's security team provided communications gear, non-lethal defensive tools, and a vehicle with emergency features. Bulletproof glass, run-flat tires, engine block protection. At 9 p.m. they were parked a block from Aerodynamics' main building in Manhattan's financial district. Sunday night, the massive glass tower was mostly dark, just security lighting, and a few scattered offices where workaholics were catching up before the week began. Remember, Sloan said as they prepared to move. If anything goes wrong, the priority is the drive, not me. The evidence has to get out. Logan checked his equipment one last time. Let's make sure nothing goes wrong. They approached through the underground parking garage using Sloan's executive access card. As predicted, security was minimal. A single guard at the desk who barely glanced up as Sloan swiped her card. Working late, Ms. Harrow. Budget review for the board meeting. The numbers never sleep, Robert. Her casual confidence was masterful. No hint of tension. No indication this was anything but a routine weekend work session. The guard nodded sympathetically and returned to his monitor. They took the executive elevator directly to the 44th floor, bypassing the standard security checkpoints. So far, everything was proceeding according to plan. Too smoothly in Logan's experience. In both combat operations and systems engineering, when things went too perfectly, something was usually about to fail catastrophically. The server room was located in the center of the executive floor, a glass-walled chamber that hummed with the sound of cooling systems and data processing. Sloan approached the security panel, placing her hand on the biometric scanner. Green light, retinal scan, green light, voice authentication. Sloan Harrow Alpha Echo 79 Tango. The glass door slid open with a soft hiss. We have 4 minutes before the system logs an anomaly for accessing these servers outside business hours, Sloan said, moving quickly to a specific rack. The security team will call my phone to verify. When I don't answer, they'll send someone to check. Logan positioned himself to watch both the door and Sloan's progress. She connected the specialized drive to a port and began a rapid sequence of command bypassing security protocols she herself had designed. 2 minutes, she murmured, eyes fixed on the progress bar. Logan's instincts were screaming now. This was too easy. A black project with government backing a cleaner like the Pale actively hunting them. There should be more resistance. Sloan, this doesn't feel right. We need to... The lights went out. All of them. Even the status indicators on the servers. Complete darkness. Power cut, Sloan whispered. That's not standard procedure. Logan's military training took over. Is the download complete? 90%, but without power, the servers have backup batteries. How long? 30 seconds, maybe less. Logan pulled a small tactical flashlight from his pocket, keeping the beam low. Finish it. I'll check the hall. He moved to the door, using the flashlight to illuminate the biometric panel. Dead. The emergency release required a key they didn't have. We're locked in. This isn't a system failure. It's deliberate. Sloan worked frantically at the server. Got it, download complete. But the door, stand back. Logan examined the glass wall, looking for structural weaknesses. These panels are tempered security glass. Hit them in the corner, not the center. He removed his jacket, wrapped it around his elbow, and struck precisely at the junction where 4 panels met. Once, twice. On the third impact, the glass cracked. Another focused blow and it shattered, creating a hole large enough to pass through. Go, now! They moved quickly through the darkened executive floor, using Logan's flashlight to navigate. The emergency exit stairs would be their only way out now. The elevators would be disabled in a power cut. This was planned, Sloan said as they located the stairwell. They knew we were coming. Save it for later. 44 floors down is our priority now. They began the descent, moving as quickly as safety allowed. 10 floors down, they heard a door open above them. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Professional measured. Not the chaotic movement of confused security guards, but the disciplined approach of tactical operators. Faster, Logan whispered. 20 floors down, Sloan was struggling to maintain the pace her breathing labored. The slow poisoning she'd mentioned was clearly taking its toll. I need a minute, she gasped. We don't have a minute. Logan checked the monitoring app quickly. Max's vitals still normal, location unchanged. At least his son was safe. Here, lean on me. They continued downward Sloane's arm across Logan's shoulders. The footsteps above were gaining in them. 30 floors down, Logan made a decision. The next floor we exit, find another stairwell. They're expecting us to go all the way down. They pushed through the door onto a random office floor, accounting based on the cubicle layout. Moving silently through the darkness, they navigated toward the opposite side of the building where another emergency stairwell should be located. Logan, Sloane whispered suddenly, look. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, they could see adjacent buildings had power. The streetlights below were functioning. This wasn't a grid failure. They cut power just to this building, specifically to trap us. Logan nodded grimly, which means they have control of the security systems. All of them. They located the second stairwell and continued their descent, moving more cautiously now. 5 floors from the bottom, Logan heard something that made his blood run cold. A voice echoing up from below. Miss Harrow, Mr. Carter, this is becoming unnecessarily complicated. The voice was calm, almost friendly, and coming closer. He's below us, Sloane whispered, the Pale. Logan assessed their options rapidly. Continuing down would lead them directly to the Pale. Going back up would take them toward the tactical team. They were being squeezed from both directions. Next floor, he decided. We crossed to the 3rd stairwell. This floor was different. Research and development filled with laboratory equipment and prototype stations. They navigated through darkness, using Logan's flashlight sparingly to avoid detection. That's when Logan saw it, a prototype of the Nexus neural interface system displayed in a glass case, the original technology that had been weaponized into Crimson Atlas. Seeing it made the stakes suddenly viscerally real. A noise behind them, the stairwell door opening. Logan pulled Sloane behind a large server bank, extinguishing his light. They waited, barely breathing, as footsteps approached. Slow, measured, deliberate. I know you're here, came the voice, the Pale, closer now. This doesn't need to end badly. The evidence won't matter. The program is too valuable to be exposed. Logan felt Sloane tense beside him. She clutched the drive containing the authentication codes. The final piece needed to expose everything. The footsteps moved away, then stopped. Consider your son, Mr. Carter. Max, isn't it? Asthma can be so unpredictable. One never knows when a severe attack might occur. Well, Logan's heart froze. The monitoring app, Max's vitals were still normal. The facility was secure, but the threat was clear. He's bluffing, Sloane whispered almost inaudibly. Max is safe. But Logan knew men like the Pale didn't bluff. If he mentioned Max, he had some way to reach him. What do you want? Logan called out, decision made. The footsteps approached again. Just the drive, Mr. Carter. Ms. Harrow's personal vendetta isn't worth your son's life. Don't, Sloane hissed. We're so close. Logan's mind raced, evaluating options, calculating risks. The lives of many against the life of his son. The greater good against his most sacred responsibility. The tactician versus the father. How do I know Max will be safe? You have my word. The word of a man with no name. A soft chuckle. Names are overrated, Mr. Carter, but professional reputation matters. I've never broken a promise. Logan stood slowly, revealing his position. Sloane remained hidden. The Pale stood 10 feet away. Just as Logan remembered from outside his apartment, gray coat, completely hairless, skin unnaturally smooth. Eyes that reflected light, oddly suggesting advanced contact lenses or artificial implants. A wise choice, the Pale said. The drive, please. Let me call my son first. Verify he's safe. Of course, the Pale gestured accommodatingly. Use your secure line. I'll wait. Logan pulled out the monitoring device Dr. Patel had given him. Max's vitals were still normal, his location in the sleeping quarters. He pressed the call button for the direct line to the facility. No response. He tried again. Nothing. Communications can be so unreliable, the Pale said mildly, especially in remote mountain facilities. Cold fear washed through Logan. What have you done? Nothing yet. My associate is simply waiting for my instruction. The facility's external communications have been temporarily disabled. No harm has come to Max or any other child. You said you never break promises. Promise me Max will remain untouched. no matter what happens here. You have my word. Once I have the drive, your son will be of no further interest to us. Logan reached into his pocket as if for the drive. Instead, he pulled out the small EMP device Sloan's security team had provided, a last resort tool designed to disable electronic systems in a small radius. I'm afraid I can't take that chance. He activated the device. Instantly, all electronic systems within 20 feet shut down, including the comms device the pail was carrying. In the same motion, Logan lunged forward, tackling the pail to the ground. They struggled in darkness, Logan's military combat training against the pail's professional expertise. They were evenly matched. Logan stronger, but the pail more agile, seemingly immune to pain. "Sloan, go!" Logan shouted as he fought. "Get the evidence out." He heard her footsteps running toward the stairwell. The pail heard it too and tried to disengage, but Logan held him firmly, landing a solid blow to his solar plexus. The pail responded with a precise strike to Logan's throat that nearly crushed his windpipe. As they fought, Logan realized something disturbing. The pail's skin felt wrong, too smooth, too uniform, like advanced synthetic material rather than human tissue. "What are you, Mom?" Logan gasped, blocking another strike. "The future Mr. Carter. What your son could become with the right applications of Nexus technology." The implication chilled Logan to his core. Not just mind control, but complete physical enhancement. Human beings turned into weapons. The fight continued, brutal and efficient. Logan managed to get the pail in a chokehold, applying pressure to cut off blood flow to the brain, a technique that would incapacitate any normal human within seconds. The pail didn't lose consciousness. Instead, he smiled. "Conventional methods are ineffective against Crimson Atlas subjects, Mr. Carter." With inhuman strength, he broke Logan's hold and slammed him against a laboratory bench. Pain exploded across Logan's back. As the pail advanced, Logan grabbed the nearest object, a fire extinguisher, and discharged it directly into his opponent's face. The pail stumbled backward, temporarily blinded. Logan seized the opportunity, delivering a powerful kick that sent the pail crashing through a glass partition. He didn't wait to see if his opponent would rise. Instead, he ran for the stairwell, praying Sloan had made it out. He descended rapidly, ignoring the pain in his ribs and back. The tactical team would be converging on their location. His only advantage was knowledge of their exit strategy, the loading dock that Sloan had identified as minimally staffed on Sundays. When he reached the ground floor, emergency lights provided minimal illumination. He moved cautiously toward the loading area, listening for any sign of pursuit. The large shipping bay doors were closed, but a smaller personnel door stood ajar. Sloan must have gone this way. Outside, the night air hit his lungs like a blessing. The service alley was empty except for dumpsters and a few parked delivery vehicles. No sign of Sloan. Had she made it to the backup rendezvous point, or had she been captured? Logan moved quickly toward the street, staying in shadows. Their contingency plan specified a meeting point 3 blocks away, if separated. As he approached the corner, a car horn honked twice, their signal. The vehicle they'd arrived in was idling at the curb, Sloan in the driver's seat. Relief washed through Logan as he slipped into the passenger side. "You got out," he said as she accelerated away from the building, through the mailroom. "Old trick, delivery services have their own security system separate from the main building." She glanced at him. "You faced him, the pail, and you're still here." "Barely. Sloan, he's not normal." "I know. He's one of the first Crimson Atlas subjects. Neural interface controlling enhanced physical capabilities. He threatened Max." Sloan's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "Did you give him the drive?" "No, use the EMP instead. But he said they have cut communications to the facility where Max is staying. We need to verify that immediately." Logan tried the monitoring app again. No signal. The direct line to the facility still wasn't connecting. Cold fear settled in his stomach. "We need to get to Max, now. It's 3 hours away. If they've compromised the facility, I don't care. My son comes first. Always." Sloan nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Of course, but we need to be smart about this. If the pail has people at the facility, rushing in blindly could put Max at greater risk." She was right, and Logan knew it. The tactician in him recognized the need for intelligence planning proper approach. But the father in him wanted to burn down the world to reach his son. We have the authentication codes now, Sloan continued. We can trigger the evidence release from anywhere. Once it's public, using Max as leverage becomes pointless. And if they've already taken him, then exposing them is still our best leverage. They won't harm a child if the whole world is watching. Logan weighed the options, his mind working through scenarios and probabilities. How quickly can you release the evidence? With the authentication codes, 2 hours to integrate everything, then simultaneous release to all endpoints. Do it, now, while we drive to the facility. Sloan pulled the car into an empty parking garage and retrieved a laptop from the trunk. Using the specialized drive, she began the process of integrating the authentication codes with the larger evidence package. Once this starts, there's no going back, she warned. Every person involved in Crimson Atlas will know they've been exposed. Good. Maybe they'll be too busy saving themselves to worry about us. While Sloan worked, Logan tried every communication method available to reach the facility. The monitoring app, the direct line, even calling hospitals in the area to check for any reports of disturbances. Nothing. Finally, Sloan looked up from the laptop. It's done. 27 endpoints, release triggered. In approximately 30 minutes, Crimson Atlas will be exposed to the world. Logan nodded grimly. Then let's get to Max. They drove north, pushing well beyond the speed limit once they cleared the city. Logan's mind was filled with worst-case scenarios. The Pale's people infiltrating the facility, Max being taken, his son scared and alone. The monitoring device remained silent, offering neither reassurance nor confirmation of his fears. He'll be okay, Sloan said, reading his expression. That facility has better security than most government buildings. The Pale said communications were cut. That means they have people close enough to interfere with the systems. Or he was bluffing, trying to manipulate you. Men like that don't bluff. They drove in tense silence for the next hour. Logan's phone suddenly buzzed with news alerts. The evidence release was hitting the media. Headlines were appearing about illegal human experimentation, classified mind-controlled technology, government cover-ups. Sloan's plan was working. It's out, she said, checking her own phone. All major news organizations, oversight committees, international courts. Too widespread to contain. Will it be enough to stop them going after Max? It should be. Their priority now will be damage control, destroying evidence, creating deniability. Individual targets become secondary when the entire operation is exposed. Logan wasn't convinced. The Pale hadn't struck him as someone who abandoned missions easily. And Max wasn't just any target. He was leverage against both Logan and Sloan. As they approached the final stretch of highway leading to the facility, Logan's monitoring device suddenly activated. Max's vital signs appeared. Elevated heart rate, respiratory rate increased. He was awake and active at 2 a.m. Something's wrong, Logan said. Max's vitals are showing stress patterns. Sloan accelerated further. How far? 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes were the longest of Logan's life. As they turned onto the private road leading to the facility, they saw emergency vehicles ahead. Police cars and ambulance lights flashing in the darkness. Logan's heart nearly stopped. No, he whispered. Please, no. Sloan pulled up to the security checkpoint where a guard was directing emergency vehicles. What's happening? She demanded, showing her ID. Miss Harrow, thank goodness. We've been trying to reach you. The facility's communications were jammed. Some kind of electronic attack. The children. Ahorn, Logan interrupted. Are they safe? Yes, sir. All accounted for. But we have 4 security personnel down. Armed intruders breached the perimeter about an hour ago. Our staff repelled them, but not before they damaged the communications array. Relief washed through Logan like a physical force. I need to see my son, Max Carter. Of course, sir. He's in the main building with the other children. They've been moved to the secure room as a precaution. Logan was out of the car before it fully stopped running toward the main building. Inside, staff members were coordinating with police, giving statements, checking systems. Logan ignored them all, following the signal on his monitoring device. He found Max in a large room with the other children, watched over by staff members. His son was sitting with the boy he'd mentioned before, Jack, both of them looking tired but surprisingly calm. Max looked up, his face lighting with recognition. Dad, Logan crossed the room in 3 strides, sweeping his son into his arms, holding him tight enough to feel his heartbeat. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm fine, Dad. We had a lockdown drill just like at school. The bad guys didn't even get in our building. Logan pulled back, examining his son's face. No fear, no trauma, just mild excitement at the late-night adventure. The resilience of children never ceased to amaze him. Did you finish your job? Dad, is that why you came back early? Logan glanced at Sloan, who had entered behind him. Yes, buddy, the job is done. And it was. The evidence was public now, spreading across global media faster than any containment effort could stop it. Crimson Atlas was exposed. The unauthorized experiments, the deaths, the government complicity, all of it laid bare for the world to see. The immediate danger had passed. But as Logan held his son, he knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter. The people behind Crimson Atlas wouldn't simply disappear. The Pale was still out there, and now Logan and Max were publicly connected to the biggest intelligence scandal in decades. They weren't safe, not yet, but they had won the first battle, and sometimes that was enough to change the course of the war. The facility buzzed with activity despite the late hour. Police officers took statements from security personnel, medical teams attended to the injured guards, and administrative staff worked to restore the damaged communication systems. Through it all, Logan refused to let Max out of his sight. They sat together in the facility's cafeteria, Max nursing a hot chocolate that a kind-hearted staff member had prepared. Despite the excitement, the boy's eyelids were growing heavy. It was nearly 3 a.m., far past his bedtime. Dad, are the bad guys coming back? Logan smoothed Max's hair, his touch gentle despite the tension still coursing through his body. No, buddy, the police are here now and the security team is making sure everything's safe. Why did they come here? Was it because of your new job? Logan exchanged glances with Sloan, who sat across the table, her face drawn with exhaustion and concern. How much could he explain to an 8-year-old about government conspiracies and neural interface technology? Some people were doing bad things, Max. Ms. Harrow and I helped stop them. That made them angry. Max considered this with the straightforward logic of childhood. Like when Tyler stole answers from Emily's test and she told the teacher, and then Tyler put gum on her chair. Logan couldn't help but smile. Something like that, but much bigger. Did you tell the teacher? Sloan leaned forward. We told everyone, Max. The whole world knows now. Max's eyes widened. The whole world, like even China and Africa. Even there, Sloan confirmed with a tired smile. The facility director approached their table, his expression grave despite his attempt at professionalism. Ms. Harrow, Mr. Carter, I've just received word. Federal agents are en route. They'll be here within the hour. Logan tensed. Which agency? FBI primarily. But there are others. The news about Crimson Atlas. It's causing quite a situation in Washington. Logan turned to Sloan. We need to decide our next move, quickly. She nodded, the weight of the decision evident in her eyes. The evidence is public. Running would make us look guilty of something other than exposing the truth. Dad, Max's voice was small concern. Are we in trouble? Logan squeezed his son's shoulder reassuringly. No, buddy, we did the right thing. But when people do big right things, sometimes it gets complicated. The facility director cleared his throat. If I may, the FBI agents specifically requested that you remain here. They emphasize that you are not under arrest or being detained. They want to ensure your safety and take your statements. Logan's military experience made him skeptical. Safety could quickly become custody, and statements could become interrogations. But Sloan was right. Running now would only complicate matters. And with Max involved, creating a life as fugitives wasn't a viable option. We'll stay, he decided, but I want assurances about our legal status, and I want my son kept out of this as much as possible. Of course, the director agreed. We have protocols for situations involving our young residents. Child psychologists, appropriate questioning environments, legal advocates present at all times. Logan turned to Max, who was fighting to keep his eyes open. Let's get you back to bed, buddy. You need some sleep. Will you stay with me? Right beside you, I promise. As Logan carried his drowsy son back to the sleeping quarters, so Sloan followed a few steps behind. The adrenaline of the past hours was fading, leaving behind bone-deep exhaustion and the dawning realization of what would come next. Questioning, investigations, perhaps even congressional hearings. Their lives had changed irrevocably. In the dormitory area, Logan settled Max into bed, tucking the blankets around him and placing his inhaler within easy reach. The other children, were already asleep, the excitement of the lockdown drill having worn off quickly for most. "Dad," Max murmured, already half asleep, "are we still going to build my robot chef?" Logan smiled, his heart aching with love for this remarkable child who, despite everything, still held on to his dreams and projects. "Absolutely. First thing when all this is over. Promise. Cross my heart." Max's eyes drifted closed, the simple exhaustion of childhood overtaking the excitement of the night's events. Logan sat beside the bed, watching his son's chest rise and fall with each breath, grateful beyond words that he was safe. Sloane waited by the door, giving them this moment of privacy. When Logan finally stood and joined her in the hallway, her expression was resolute. "Logan, there's something we need to discuss before the FBI arrives." They found a small conference room where they could speak privately. Sloane looked more vulnerable than he'd seen her before. The powerful CEO facade completely gone, replaced by a woman who had risked everything to expose a terrible truth. "What we've done will have consequences," she began. "Major government contractors, intelligence agencies, military research divisions, they're all implicated in Crimson Atlas. They'll fight back, try to discredit us, minimize the evidence, spin the narrative." "I figured as much. I prepared for this. My legal team is already mobilizing. The best constitutional lawyers, civil liberties experts, media consultants. They'll be here by morning." She hesitated. "But there's something else we need to consider. Something beyond the legal battles." Logan waited, sensing the weight of whatever she was about to propose. "The Nexus technology, the original ethical version, it's still valid, still valuable. It could help millions of people with paralysis, locked-in syndrome, severe communication disorders. But after this scandal, it might be buried forever. Years of potential medical advancement lost." "What are you suggesting?" "A new research initiative, independent, transparent, ethically overseen. Taking the original Nexus concept back to its roots, healing, not harming." Her eyes met his directly. "And I want you to help lead it." Logan stared at her, caught completely off guard. "Me, I'm a systems engineer, not a medical researcher." "Exactly. You understand the technical architecture, the security implications, the potential vulnerabilities. But more importantly, you have what the original project lost, an unwavering ethical compass. You put your son's welfare above everything, even when faced with extraordinary pressure." "Sloane, I appreciate the offer, but my life is complicated enough. Max's health, our financial situation, all of which would be addressed. The position would come with comprehensive family health coverage, housing allowance, education fund for Max." She leaned forward. "Logan, I'm not just offering you a bomb. I'm offering you a chance to transform what was weaponized back into something that helps people, and to secure Max's future in the process." The proposition was staggering, from catering jobs and unpaid medical bills to leading a cutting-edge research initiative, from struggling to make ends meet to financial security for himself and Max. "I need time to think about this, to talk with Max." "Of course, but there's something else you should know." Sloane's expression became more serious. "The Pale is still out there, and men like him don't forget." Logan had been so focused on the immediate crisis, the facility attack, Max's safety, the arriving federal agents, that he'd momentarily pushed aside the memory of his confrontation with the Pale. The inhuman strength, the synthetic skin, the casual threat against Max. "You think he'll come after us again?" "Not immediately. His handlers will be in crisis mode, destroying evidence, creating distance, preparing deniability. But eventually, yes. People like the Pale don't leave loose ends." She paused. "Working with me would mean protection, security details, safe housing, comprehensive monitoring, for both you and Max." Logan processed this, the tactical part of his mind, evaluating the threat assessment. She was right. The Pale wasn't the type to accept defeat. And if he had been enhanced through Crimson Atlas technology, he might not even be operating entirely under his own volition. "I'll consider it after we deal with the FBI." Sloane nodded, understanding his need to take one crisis at a time. "Fair enough." The federal agents arrived just after dawn, a convoy of black SUVs and a mobile command unit. Logan watched from a window as they established a perimeter, set up communications equipment, and began a methodical approach to interviewing everyone at the facility. He had insisted Max remain asleep as long as possible, giving him a brief respite before the chaos that would inevitably envelop them. Sloane's legal team had arrived an hour earlier, sharp-suited men and women with keen eyes and reassuring confidence, who immediately began establishing ground rules for the questioning process. The lead FBI agent, a woman named Director Mercer, requested to speak with Logan and Sloane together first. Logan had agreed only after ensuring Max would have appropriate supervision and support when he awoke. The interview room was a classroom hastily repurposed, children's artwork still decorating the walls, an incongruous backdrop for such a serious conversation. Director Mercer was in her 50s, with short gray hair and the composed demeanor of someone who had navigated complex investigations for decades. "Mr. Carter, Ms. Harrow," she began, "I want to be clear from the outset. This is not an interrogation. You're not under arrest. We're here because what you've exposed represents one of the most significant intelligence scandals in recent history." Logan remained cautious. "And your role in this is to investigate the allegations regarding Crimson Atlas to secure relevant evidence and to ensure the safety of key witnesses, which includes both of you." She placed a folder on the table. "The evidence you released has already prompted 3 congressional committees to announce hearings. The president has ordered a full review of classified research programs, and the international response is substantial." Sloane leaned forward. "What about the people behind Crimson Atlas? The ones who authorize human experimentation without consent? Multiple federal prosecutors are already preparing cases. Several high-ranking officials have been placed on administrative leave pending investigation." Director Mercer's expression remained neutral professional. "But I should warn you, there will be significant pushback. Claims that the evidence was doctored, that you've misrepresented legitimate research, that national security has been compromised." "We expected as much," Logan said. "What you may not have expected is the level of public support. The story has resonated powerfully. Medical ethics organizations, civil liberties groups, veterans associations, they're all calling for accountability." This was surprising. Logan had anticipated the government closing ranks, suppressing the story, minimizing the impact. But it seemed the evidence Sloane had compiled was too comprehensive, too damning to be easily dismissed. "What happens now?" he asked. "We need your formal statements, detailed accounts of how you discovered Crimson Atlas, what evidence you gathered, who threatened you." Director Mercer glanced at her notes. "And we need to discuss the individual known as the Pale." Logan felt a chill at the mention of the name. "What about him?" "We have no record of such an operative in any official database. Yet multiple witnesses have reported encounters with someone matching his description in connection with various classified projects. We need to know everything you observed about him." The questioning continued for hours. Logan described as accidental involvement the threat to Max, the attack on the facility. Sloane detailed her years-long investigation, the slow poisoning, the systematic gathering of evidence. Their lawyers intervened occasionally, ensuring the questioning remained appropriate and that their rights were protected. By mid-morning, Logan needed to check on Max. He found his son in the facility's recreation room, playing chess with one of the child psychologists, seemingly unaffected by the presence of federal agents throughout the building. "Dad, Dr. Kim is teaching me chess strategy. Did you know there are 20 possible first moves in chess, but only a few are really good?" Logan smiled, relief washing through him at seeing Max so relaxed. "That's fascinating, buddy. Are you hungry? It's almost lunchtime." "They brought us pancakes for breakfast, with real maple syrup. Can we have that at home too?" "We'll see." Logan knelt to his son's level. "Max, some people need to ask you a few questions about last night. About the lockdown. Is that okay?" Max considered this seriously. "Will you be there?" "Absolutely. The whole time." "Okay then." The interview with Max was handled with remarkable sensitivity. A specialized child interviewer asked simple, non-leading questions, while Logan and a child advocate remained present. Max described the lockdown as kind of exciting but a little scary, explaining how the staff had moved all the children to the secure room and told them it was just like a drill at school. When asked if he knew why the bad people had come to the facility, Max looked to Logan uncertainly. "It's okay, buddy. You can tell them what you know. Dad and Ms. Harrow stopped some people from doing bad things. Like when Emily told on Tyler for cheating. The interviewer smiled gently. And how do you feel about that? About your dad stopping bad things? Max thought for a moment. Good. Dad always says we should do the right thing even when it's hard. He looked at Logan with unabashed pride. My dad's brave. Logan swallowed hard emotion threatening to overwhelm him. Through all the chaos and danger, his son still saw him as a hero. It was both humbling and terrifying, the weight of living up to that pure and questioning faith. The questioning continued throughout the day. Legal teams conferred in hushed tones. News helicopters circled overhead, occasionally trying to get footage of the facility now at the center of a national controversy. Through it all, Logan tried to maintain a sense of normalcy for Max, playing games, helping with a robot design, ensuring his medication schedule remained consistent. By evening, a preliminary agreement had been reached. Logan and Max would be moved to a secure location under federal protection. Sloan would be placed under separate protection due to her higher public profile. They would remain available for additional questioning and eventual testimony before congressional committees. As they prepared to leave the facility, Logan found a moment alone with Sloan in the administration office. Have you thought about my offer? She asked, gathering her personal items. I have, but I need to know more. What exactly would this research initiative involve? Where would it be based? What would it mean for Max's life? It would be headquartered in Boston, top medical research facilities, university affiliations. You'd lead the systems architecture team, designing the security protocols, ethical safeguards, operational parameters. She handed him a folder. The details are all here. Salary, benefits, housing arrangements, schools for Max. Logan scanned the documents, his eyes widening at the figures. The compensation was beyond generous, enough to eliminate their financial concerns entirely. The healthcare coverage was comprehensive, including specialized treatment for Max's asthma. The housing would be in a safe, upscale neighborhood with excellent schools. This is substantial. It reflects the value of your contribution and the risks you've already taken. Sloane's expression softened slightly. Logan, I won't pretend this is entirely altruistic. I need someone I can trust absolutely. Someone who's proven they won't compromise on ethics no matter the pressure. That's you. The offer was tempting. Security for Max, meaningful work, a chance to transform a weaponized technology back into something healing. But accepting meant tying their futures to Sloan and to a technology that had already brought them into danger. I need to discuss this with Max and see how things develop with the investigation. Of course, the offer remains open. She hesitated, then added, whatever you decide, thank you for helping me when no one else would, for risking everything to expose the truth. Before Logan could respond, an FBI agent appeared at the door. Mr. Carter, we're ready to transport you and your son to the secure location. The safe house was a comfortable suburban home in upstate New York, isolated enough for security, but normal-looking enough that Max wouldn't feel like a prisoner. Federal agents maintained a perimeter, but they were discreet. No obvious security presence that would attract attention. Max had adapted to their new circumstances with remarkable resilience, treating it as an extended vacation. The house had a large backyard where he could place safely, a well-stocked kitchen, and high-speed internet that allowed him to continue his robot designs. 3 days after their arrival, Logan sat on the back porch watching Max play with a remote-controlled car provided by one of the agents. The boy's laughter carried across the yard, a sound that never failed to center Logan, to remind him of what truly mattered. His phone buzzed with a news alert, another in the constant stream of updates about the Crimson Atlas scandal. Congressional hearings had begun. 3 high-ranking intelligence officials had resigned. A military contractor had been suspended from government work pending investigation. The story wasn't fading as many had predicted. If anything, it was growing, expanding into broader questions about ethics in technology, government oversight, and human rights in research. Sloan had become a complex figure in the public narrative. Part whistleblower, part complicit insider, seeking redemption. Logan had largely remained out of the spotlight, identified in news reports simply as a former military systems engineer who had helped expose the program. His lawyer had advised maintaining this lower profile to protect Max's privacy, and so far, the media had respected this boundary. Director Mercer arrived that afternoon for an update briefing. She found Logan and Max in the kitchen making cookies from a pre-mixed dough that Max had been excited to try. Looks like you two are settling in, she observed, accepting Logan's offer of coffee. We're managing, Logan replied, helping Max place the dough on a baking sheet. Any news about the facility attack? We've identified 3 of the 4 attackers, former military working as private contractors. They're not talking, but their communications devices contained references to securing the package, which we believe meant Max. Logan's hands stilled, the confirmation of what he'd suspected, that they had come specifically for his son, sent a cold wave through him. And the pale, still no official identification. It's like he doesn't exist in any system. Director Mercer lowered her voice. But we found something interesting. Medical records from a military research hospital in Virginia. A patient with severe combat injuries underwent experimental neural interface treatment 3 years ago. The records were heavily redacted, but the timing aligns with early Crimson Atlas development. You think the Pale was a test subject who became an operative? It's possible. The project directors may have seen an opportunity, a soldier with nothing to lose willing to undergo experimental procedures to regain function. She sipped her coffee. The real question is how many others like him are out there. The implications were disturbing, not just mind control technology, but enhanced operatives, potentially against their will or without full understanding of what was being done to them. Dad, can we put chocolate chips in too? Max asked, oblivious to the serious conversation happening over his head. Sure thing, buddy. There should be some in the pantry. As Max searched for the chocolate chips, Director Mercer continued, You'll be called to testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee next week. Closed session, no media. Your lawyer has been briefed. And Max will remain here under protection. We've arranged for a child psychologist to be present, and the agents assigned to him have been specially trained for family protection details. Logan nodded, grateful for the consideration. Any progress on tracking the source of the facility communications jamming? Yes, actually, it was sophisticated, military-grade equipment, but we traced it to a rental property nearby, paid for with cash, but security cameras gave us an image. She showed Logan a photo on her tablet, a woman in her 40s, nondescript, wearing sunglasses. Recognize her? Logan studied the image. No, but the Pale doesn't work alone. Exactly. We believe she's part of his operational team, technical support. After Director Mercer left, Logan found himself staring at Max's robot design spread across the kitchen table. The boy had a natural talent for systems thinking, seeing how components connected, how energy flowed, how to create fail-safes and redundancies. So much like Logan himself at that age before military service had channeled those skills towards security systems and battlefield communications. What future did he want for his son? A normal childhood seemed impossible now. They were connected to a national security scandal, potential targets for people like the Pale. But there could still be stability, safety opportunities to nurture Max's talents. Sloan's offer remained tempting. The research initiative would provide security, financial stability, and meaningful work, transforming a weaponized technology back into something healing. Max would have access to excellent schools, medical care, and resources to develop his engineering interests. But accepting meant permanently tying their futures to Sloan and to a technology that had already brought danger into their lives. It meant remaining visible, potentially vulnerable. That night, after Max was asleep, Logan sat on the back porch with Sloan's proposal spread before him. The cool evening air carried the scent of pine from the surrounding woods, a peaceful contrast to the turmoil of recent days. His phone rang. Sloan's number. I wasn't sure you'd answer, she said when he picked up. What's happening, the hearings? Proceeding as expected. Denial, selective amnesia, national security invocations. Her voice sounded tired but determined. But the evidence is holding, too comprehensive to dismiss entirely. And the research initiative? Still moving forward. I've secured independent funding, university partnerships, ethical oversight committees. A pause. Your position remains open. Logan watched the stars emerging above the trees. I'm still considering it. I understand it's a big decision. Another pause. There's something else. Something I didn't tell you before. Logan tensed, wary of more revelations. What? Nexus wasn't just developed for medical applications. Its original concept, my original concept, was personal. My brother had locked-in syndrome after a motorcycle accident. Complete cognitive awareness, but unable to communicate except through eye movements. I wanted to give him his voice back. This was unexpected, a human motivation behind the technology that had been so horrifically corrupted. Did it work the original version partially? He could communicate basic needs emotions. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Her voice softened. He died 2 years ago. Pneumonia. But those moments of connection we had through the interface, they were precious. That's what was stolen when they weaponized the technology. The human purpose. Logan understood now why she had fought so hard, risked so much to expose Crimson Atlas. Not just ethical outrage, but personal betrayal. Her creation, born from love and loss, transformed into something that caused pain and death. I'm sorry about your brother. Thank you. She seemed to collect herself. Logan, whatever you decide about the position, know that I respect it. You've already done more than I had any right to ask. After they hung up, Logan remained on the porch thinking. The complexity of the situation was overwhelming. National security implications, powerful enemies, ethical dilemmas about technology that could heal or harm. But through it all, one constant remained: his responsibility to Max. What would best serve his son? Not just for immediate safety, but for his future, his development, his understanding of right and wrong. Logan was still pondering this question when his security alert pinged. Movement at the perimeter of the property. He checked the app on his phone, expecting to see federal agents doing their regular patrol. Instead, he saw a thermal image of someone moving through the trees beyond the backyard. Someone avoiding the security cameras, moving with military precision. His blood ran cold. Grabbing his phone, he sent the emergency alert to the security team, then moved quickly to Max's room. The boy was sleeping peacefully, unaware of the potential threat. Logan gently lifted him, blanket and all. "Dad," Max murmured sleepily. "It's okay, buddy. Just a security drill. Remember how we practiced?" Max nodded drowsily, automatically wrapping his arms around Logan's neck as he carried him to the designated safe room, a reinforced interior space with no windows, stocked with supplies and communications equipment. Logan's training kept him calm as he secured the door and activated the additional security systems. The federal agents would respond to the alert within seconds. The safe room could withstand significant assault. Max was secure. His phone buzzed. A text from the security team leader: "Perimeter breach confirmed. Multiple hostiles. Stay in safe room. Response team engaging." Then gunfire, distant but unmistakable. Max's eyes widened, suddenly fully awake. "Dad, that's not like the drills." "It's okay, buddy. The security team is handling it. We're safe in here." "Is it the bad people again? Like at the other place?" Logan met his son's eyes, seeing the fear but also the trust there. "Yes, but we're prepared this time. The agencies are protecting us." More gunfire, closer now. Logan positioned himself between Max and the door, mentally cataloging the defensive options within the safe room. Limited but not non-existent. The security team was well trained, but if the Pale was involved. His phone buzzed again. Director Mercer. "Hostiles neutralized. 2 in custody, 1 deceased. No confirmation on Pale. Stay secure until all clear." Logan released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "It's okay, Max. The good guys won." An hour later, after thorough sweeps of the entire property, the all clear came. Director Mercer herself came to the safe room to brief Logan while Max was being checked by a medic, despite showing no physical distress. 3 operatives, same profile as the facility attackers. Military background, private contractors. No sign of the Pale, but the tactical approach matches his methodology. "They're not giving up," Logan said, the implications clear. "No, and this location is now compromised." Director Mercer looked grim. "We need to move you again. Immediately." "Where, we have options. More secure facilities, but less comfortable. Military bases, protected witness accommodations." Logan thought of Max, his resilience, his adaptability, but also his need for stability, for normalcy. Another move, another safe house, another temporary situation. Always watching, and always waiting for the next attack. "I need to make a call first." He found a private room and dialed Sloane's number. She answered immediately. "Logan, I just heard. Are you and Max okay?" "We're fine, but we need to move again." He took a deep breath. "The research initiative in Boston, Is that offer still open? Absolutely. Why? Because I'm accepting, but with conditions. Name them. Complete transparency, independent ethical oversight with real authority, no military applications ever. He paused. And comprehensive security for Max. Not just physical protection, but a chance at a normal life. School friends activities. As much stability as possible. Done. All of it. She sounded genuinely relieved. When can you start? As soon as we can get to Boston safely. The Federal Protection Detail will need to coordinate with your security team for the transition. I'll make all the arrangements immediately. After hanging up, Logan found Max sitting with a female agent who was showing him how her tactical watch worked. The boy seemed completely recovered from the alarm, his natural curiosity overwhelming any lingering fear. Hey, buddy, can we talk for a minute? The agent tactfully excused herself, leaving them alone. Max, how would you feel about moving to Boston for a new job I've been offered? Max considered this seriously. Would it be our own house? Not like this place with all the agents. Our own house, in a nice neighborhood with good schools, and you'd still have security, but it would be more normal. Would I still need to do lockdown drills? Logan's heart ached at the question. Some safety precautions, yes, but not like tonight, and you'd be able to go to school, make friends, join clubs. What about my robot designs? That's the best part. This job is at a research center where they build advanced technology. There would be engineers, scientists, people who could help you learn to build real robots. Max's eyes widened. Real robots, not just drawings. Real robots in medical devices that help people who are sick or injured. Like my asthma medicine. Similar but for people with different conditions. People who can't move or speak. Max thought about this, his young face serious. Is Ms. Harrow going to be there? The lady from the park? Yes, she's starting this research center. She asked me to help make sure everything works properly and safely. Is it dangerous, like your other job with her? Logan chose his words carefully. The work itself isn't dangerous. It's important work that will help people. But there are still some bad people who might try to stop us. That's why we'll still have security. Like bodyguards. Something like that. Max was quiet for a long moment, processing this with the straightforward logic of childhood. Will you be happier there, Dad? You always look worried about money and stuff. The question caught Logan off guard, the simple perception of a child cutting through complex adult concerns. Had his financial stress been so visible to Max? I think I will be happier, buddy. We won't have to worry about money. I'll have important work that uses my skills. And most importantly, we'll be together safe with a more normal life. Max nodded decisively. Then let's go to Boston. Can I have a robot lab in our new house? Logan laughed, pulling his son into a hug. We'll see about that. The transition happened quickly. Within 48 hours, they were airborne in a private jet arranged by Sloan's security team and cleared by federal authorities. Max was thrilled by his first flight, pressing his face against the window to watch the landscape below, pointing out patterns and shapes in the clouds. Boston greeted them with clear autumn skies. Their new home was a renovated brownstone in a historic neighborhood, elegant but not ostentatious, with advanced security systems integrated so seamlessly they were nearly invisible. Max's bedroom had been prepared with care, including a small workstation for his robot designs and bookshelves filled with science and engineering books appropriate for his age. The research center, officially named the Ramirez Institute for Neural Interface Technology after Sloan's brother, occupied a modern building in Cambridge near MIT. Logan's office overlooked the Charles River, a peaceful view that belied the importance of the work happening inside. His role was exactly as Sloan had described, leading the system's architecture team, designing security protocols, ethical safeguards, and operational parameters for the next generation of neural interface technology. His military background and systems expertise made him uniquely qualified to anticipate vulnerabilities and prevent misuse. Max thrived in his new environment. His private school had an exceptional STEM program that nurtured his engineering interests. His asthma was managed by specialists at a top children's hospital. And true to Logan's condition, security was comprehensive but unobtrusive. Trained personnel who looked like ordinary staff, advanced monitoring systems protocols, that allowed Max as much normalcy as possible. 3 months after their arrival, as winter settled over Boston, Logan stood in the observation room above the research center's main laboratory. Below, a patient with advanced ALS was using the first prototype of the new Nexus system, communicating complex thoughts through an interface that translated neural activity into text and speech. "It's working," Sloan said quietly, joining him at the window. "Real-time communication, no invasive implants, no risk of neural pathway damage. The security protocols are us holding too. No external access points, no vulnerability to remote manipulation." They watched as the patient, a former professor of literature, composed a message thanking the research team. The synthesized voice carried emotion despite its artificial nature, conveying genuine gratitude. "This is what it was always meant to be," Sloan said. "A bridge across isolation, a voice for those silenced by disease or injury." Logan nodded. In the months since exposing Crimson Atlas, the national conversation had evolved. Congressional hearings had resulted in new oversight mechanisms for classified research. Ethics committees had gained actual authority. Whistleblower protections had been strengthened. The Pale remained at large, a shadow that necessitated continued security precautions. But as handlers had been identified, indicted, some already convicted. The immediate threat had receded as those responsible for Crimson Atlas focused on their own legal defenses rather than silencing witnesses. "Max wants to show you his latest design," Logan said. "He's been working on it all week." Sloan smiled. "The robot chef with the cooling system. Version 4.0 now. He's added voice recognition and a fire suppression system. Smart kid. He wants to bring it to the Family Day presentation next week. Show the engineers." The research center's monthly Family Day had been Sloan's idea. A time when employees could bring their families to see their work, to understand the purpose and impact of the technology they were developing. For Max, it had become a highlight, a chance to interact with engineers and scientists who took his ideas seriously. "Of course, I'll make sure the prototype lab is available for his demonstration." That evening, Logan helped Max fine-tune his robot chef design, offering suggestions on power efficiency and safety features. The boy's technical understanding had grown remarkably in the months since their move, nurtured by the educational resources now available to him. "Dad, do you think when I grow up I could work at the research center too, building robots that help people?" Logan smiled, seeing his own passion for systems and solutions reflected in his son. "Absolutely, if that's what you want." "I do. I want to make things that help people like Miss Harrow's brother, or kids with asthma like me." The simple clarity of Max's ambition, to create technology that helped rather than harmed, was a powerful reminder of why they had taken this path. Despite the dangers they'd faced, the disruption to their lives, they had helped transform a weaponized technology back into a healing tool. And in the process, they had found a new purpose, a new community, a new beginning. Later that night, after Max was asleep, Logan sat in his home office reviewing security protocols for an upcoming clinical trial. A notification appeared on his phone. A message from Director Mercer, who had maintained contact throughout the transition. "Thought you should know. Facial recognition caught possible Pale sighting in Toronto. Not confirmed, but similar physical characteristics. Stay vigilant." The message was a reminder that their story wasn't completely finished. The Pale, whether operating on his own or under new handlers, remained a potential threat, one that necessitated continued caution, continued vigilance. But as Logan checked the security systems and looked in on his sleeping son, he felt something beyond the familiar weight of responsibility and protection, something that had been missing during those years of struggle and survival. Hope, not just for immediate safety or financial stability, but for a meaningful future, for work that mattered, for Max's bright potential, for technology that served humanity rather than controlled it. The next morning, as they walked to Max's school through the crisp Boston air, Logan noticed his son studying the people they passed, the businesswoman checking her phone, the college students with backpacks, the construction workers repairing a sidewalk. "What are you thinking about, buddy?" Max looked up thoughtfully. "All these people don't know, do they? About the bad things we stopped, about the Pale and Crimson Atlas and everything. Most of them don't know. They heard about it on the news, but they don't know we were involved. Is that sad that they don't know what you did?" Logan considered the question. "No, it's not sad. What matters is that those people are safe now, that the bad technology isn't being used to hurt them. They can just live their lives, go to work, see their families. Max nodded, seeming to understand. Like how I can go to school and work on my robots without worrying about bad guys coming. Exactly. Dad, yeah, buddy. I'm proud of you for stopping the bad guys. Even though it was scary, Logan felt his throat tighten with emotion. Thank you, Max. That means a lot to me. They continued their walk hand in hand, father and son, their extraordinary experiences hidden beneath the appearance of ordinary life. The threats they had faced the system, they had exposed the technology they were now helping to redirect toward healing. All of it invisible to the people they passed on the street. And that, Logan realized, was perhaps the greatest success of all. Not fame or recognition, but the quiet knowledge that they had helped preserve the very normalcy that surrounded them. That Max could grow up in a world where neural interface technology helped people communicate rather than controlling them against their will. A world where a single dad with specialized skills and an unwavering ethical compass could make a difference. Where doing the right thing even when difficult or dangerous still mattered. As they reached the school gates, Max gave him a quick hug before racing off to join his friends. Logan watched him go, this remarkable child who had faced extraordinary circumstances with such resilience and courage. Whatever challenges still lay ahead, the continuing fallout from Crimson Atlas, the complex path of developing ethical technology, they would face them together. Father and son, engineer and future inventor, protector and protected. And in that knowledge, Logan found a peace he had thought impossible just months ago. Not the absence of danger, but the presence of purpose. Not perfect safety, but meaningful security. Not an easy path, but the right one. For himself, for Max, for the future they were helping to build, one ethical system at a time.